Howdy, y'all. I've been sent here to tell you that the following program is being presented by Tiger Media Net. And that gosh darn program is It Came from the DVD Collection.
Hello and welcome to the podcast. My name is John Billinger, and this is...
I'm Connor Keating.
And today, we will be discussing the 1957, also 1959 movie, The Mysterians. It was released in The Mysterians in 1959. This is another Toho Japanese monster movie, really more Japanese alien invasion movie, but it does get latched onto the Japanese monsters movies because it does introduce a monster, Mogira.
He's a big robot.
Big robot with this giant, kind of like...
You got a nose.
Cone saw type thing. I don't know what the exact...
Drill?
Yeah, sorry. Sorry, I'm not a big Mogira guy, I guess.
Not a big power equipment guy?
No, I'm not. I was not great at shop class when I went to high school. Anyway, first, before we talk about the movie, let's give a little bit of background on the movie. So, Toho Studios was the studio that was behind the original Godzilla. In fact, all the Godzilla movies, except for some of the American ones that have come out recently. And in 1955, they released the sequel, Godzilla Raids Again, which reviewed the English dub Gigantus the Fire Monster. Anyway, after that movie, they were originally supposed to make a third Godzilla movie, The Bride of Godzilla. But it got canceled after Godzilla Raids Again didn't perform as well.
Nope.
So, they decided to make other monster movie and other science fiction films. So, in 1955, after that movie, we had Half Human, which is a pretty infamous film because it has yet to be released on DVD.
Well, that's because it has, like, racist depictions of a certain group of people from Japan. Yep. And so because of that, it's, like, banned. And so, like, I don't even think it's been released in Japan.
Yeah.
Pretty much, it's considered banned.
Yeah, I mean, you can find bootlegs of it online, I think. Maybe one day we'll have to review that one.
Yeah.
And then after that, they released Rodan, which is about a giant pterodactyl. And then next up on the list is 1957's The Mysterians. And some of the other ones that came out after that were, Varan, H-Man, Battle in Outer Space, and Mothra in 61. And then in 1962, Godzilla came back with King Kong vs. Godzilla, which we reviewed a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, and then after that, they made a few more early 60s, other movies, and then I think King Kong Escapes is kind of like the last, aside from Space Amoeba, but that's kind of like, that's the only movie from 1970, and so, yeah, they start to slow down, but in the late 50s, early 60s is kind of when they were doing a lot of these non-Godzilla.
There were other ones too, like there was also Gorath.
Yeah, Gorath, Atragon, Matango, all that stuff.
Frankenstein versus Baragon, or Frankenstein Conquers the World, whatever you want to call it.
We're about to name all of them.
Yeah, I think we just did name all of them.
Well, we missed Gargantua.
Oh yeah, War of the Gargantuas, yes. Alright, so, what are your general thoughts on the movie?
I think Mysterians is one of Toho's, like, of the 50s monster movies that they did. I would say that this is that are not Godzilla. I would say that this is one of the stronger ones, maybe even the best one that I've seen of their 50s. Sci-fi stuff. You've got a solid cast of characters. You've got that whole, a lot of the, nuclear war allegory stuff, and it's just a fun, alien invasion, movie.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna be that guy. I'm just gonna say that the movie is just, it's alright. It's not that great. I don't think it's that bad either.
What a loser!
I'm sorry, it just it didn't really do much for me.
You
It's
probably
not
like
one
Rodan.
Well, yeah, that's a more exciting movie.
Oh my gosh, this guy, I swear.
I'm sorry, it's just, Mysterians just didn't do it for me. I'm sorry, Alright, well, I suppose we should talk about the story next, give a little more context on what exactly this movie is about. So, take it away, Connor.
Alright, so the plot of this movie is that there are bizarre natural disasters happening, right? There's this forest fire where the fire seems to be coming out of the ground. There are strange earthquakes, and there's radiation spikes in random places. So people are trying to figure out what's going on, and suddenly this giant robot shows up.
The Mysterians!
We don't know that yet. It's just a big robot, Mogera. And so the army kind of comes in, they take care of it.
The Mysterians!
And from there, you're throwing off my train of thought. I know you said you'd do that, but you're throwing off my train of thought.
The Mysterians!
So after that, they're trying to figure out what the heck's going on. Then these aliens show up. There's one of the main guys.
The Mysterians!
One of the main guys disappears. Not Sarazawa. He disappears. The aliens show up and they're all like, "Hey,
the Mysterians!
We want a little plot of land, 2-mile plot of land, and your women." And people.
Well, that's 5 women.
What? Oh yeah, they want. Well, they capture a bunch of women at the end.
Oh yeah,
but they want these. They want the right to basically marry
the Mysterians,
the Earth women, and so. And so that's what they ask him, and the people of Earth are like, you know what?
The Mysterians!
Screw you, we're not going to do that. And so then they start a war with them. And so from there, yeah, they're trying to fight the Mysterians.
The Mysterians!
Get their women back. And that's basically the plot, pretty much. Is just like, oh shoot, there's aliens.
The Mysterians!
They want land. Screw you, you can't have land. Also, the aliens are
the Mysterians!
They're from this planet called Mysteroid that got blown up in a nuclear war.
The Mysterians!
And so, yeah. And so they're all like irradiated, and that's why they need the women, because
the Mysterians!
They are kind of sort of, well, they're not infertile, but it's like when they, breed with their own women, they get mutant babies. And so they're like, we need not mutant babies in order for our species to continue. So that's the plot.
I should probably give context as to why I kept saying the Mysterians throughout that whole thing. Is because before we watched the movie, he showed me some...
I showed him this silly edit of the trailer.
Someone edited the trailer where they're showing the entire... They show, like, I guess like it's the US trailer, and they kept editing the Mysterians over everything.
Yeah,
like,
because they say that in the trailer.
A ride in space, the Mysterians! A giant robot, the Mysterians! That's what I was trying to do. It might have been a little bit more annoying.
Yeah, you're really annoying. All right.
Yeah, that's going to be a fun one to edit.
Yeah.
So do you think it's a good story?
Yeah, I think I like the story. I think it does a fairly decent job with the whole allegory of nuclear war, you know, cuz like the original Godzilla is like the atomic bomb itself, whereas the Mysterians are sort of like this warning of nuclear war as a whole, right? So we're getting a little deeper, or a little, further into the Cold War at this point. And so it's more of a Cold War themed film.
Okay.
He's going to say, I thought it was okay. There were aliens. Yeah.
Well, look, my main problem with the movie is it's just... The character, I don't really think the characters are that great or memorable. There's none of them really have any like quirks or clicks to them. Like they're just kind of like they're pretty blandly written.
With you there.
And there's like that thing with Kenji Sahara. He's Sarazawa.
Yeah, no. That's Akira something. He's got a really hard to say name. No. I'm trying to think. I'm thinking of Akira Takarada. I can't remember the Sarazawa, but no, Kenji Sahara's the main guy.
Okay, but there's like the guy who gets kidnapped by the aliens, and like he
doesn't get kidnapped. He basically joins them.
Yeah, he joins the aliens, and he disappears. But I don't really. Oh yeah, sorry, but I don't really feel like there's enough of a connection built up with him in the beginning of the movie. Yeah, because so you can't really
he shows up at the beginning and then he disappears at the beginning. Like chapter 1 we're introduced and then he disappears at the end of chapter 1 essentially.
Yeah, it's not really it's not really much of a plot twist. It's really more like, who was that guy again? Oh yeah, that guy.
Yeah, not Sarazawa.
I don't really because he also plays Sarazawa in Godzilla 54. Yeah. So it just doesn't really feel engaging, because they don't really have any like for opening 2 minutes. I think there's some a Japanese ritual going on.
Yeah, like just a festival.
It's a festival. It's establishing the thing, but it just doesn't really. but there's like no talking or any of the characters. You don't get to know any of the characters at all. So I feel like it should have had that in there, so we feel connection with the characters and we see them go on this journey thing. And also the movie, I think it's just kind of slow. It's a
slow movie, yeah.
So it doesn't really engage with me with that. It doesn't have like a quick pace or anything like that. It's just very slow. And there's also not a lot of, I guess, monster action. Well, you see, when I was a kid, I always heard Mogera was in this movie, but he's only in there for like
shows
probably
up at the
about
very
4 minutes.
beginning. So that's the thing, is it's like, it's slow, but yeah, their action kicks off immediately, and then you kind of have that middle section where, yeah, it is fairly slow.
Yeah. And then Mogera briefly comes back at the very end of the movie. But
and even then, the ending, I would say, is one of the stronger endings for an alien invasion movie. And we'll get to that, but you're probably going to disagree, but...
Yeah, I'm sorry.
No, it's fine. This is great content. Good content.
But look, I mean, I don't hate the movie, though, just to clarify. I think it's just okay.
It's just okay.
You know, there's just nothing about it. Like, I feel like there's better stuff in other Alien movies, and certainly better Toho movies than this. And there are good things in the movie, like the soundtrack's really good.
Oh yeah, and it's
Akira Ikefube again.
When the title menu for the DVD popped up, suddenly it all came back to me like, oh my gosh, this movie has like the greatest soundtrack. Not the greatest, but like a really good soundtrack that nobody even talks about.
Yeah,
like
it just gets over.
Wow.
In terms of Akira Ikefube, it kind of gets overshadowed by his Godzilla work and his work on other movies. So, you know, you can kind of see why.
Yeah, but still,
it is pretty good.
Really good.
And I do like the effect. Like, this is also the first time, I guess, where we see the painted-on laser effects that you'd see in some of the later Toho films in the 1670s. I actually like it. You know,
I think they kind of do that in the original Godzilla, but like here...
Oh, yeah, they do. But this is in color.
Yeah, this is like in flaming color.
Yeah, it's the second, I think, Toho monster movie or Toho.
Yeah, and Rodan really didn't have any of that painted on sort of effects because
Rodan didn't have any abilities like that.
No.
But yeah, I do like the painted on effects because, you know, it just brings me back to my childhood watching like the old Godzilla movies. It's like I like seeing that.
They're not necessarily good. Like the later ones are like, you know,
Ghidorah
are certainly like wow,
more
that's
ambitious.
fairly impressive, fairly ambitious, blend well. Here they're a little like you can tell that they're drawn on the frame essentially, but you know they've got a sort of fun feel to them.
Yeah, like I mean the effects are fun, but you know I mean it's Toho. You know, EG Super Rai effects. So
we're certainly getting ahead of ourselves, but I will say, you don't see strings in this.
No,
I can't remember a single time where I saw like a string on a ship, and there are lots of ships flying around and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So like effects are top notch.
Yes, I feel like we should also bring up the climax. You know, you think it's really good.
I think it's like compared to a lot of other alien invasion movies, like oftentimes they have just kind of very like bland endings. Like maybe that's like that's the product of like, for example, War of the Worlds. It of course ends with just, the aliens get sick and they all crash. Or like Earth versus the Flying Saucers has just kind of a pretty bland ending. But here you've got the aliens, they've got their base, and so we're like, the Japanese military is going to throw everything that they have at this base. There are lasers flying everywhere. The Japanese Defense Force has these, like big spaceships that are flying around. It's just an epic climax.
Yeah.
And you're going to tell me that it's bad.
Well, I mean, I just prefer other kind of climax. Like, I think War of the World, like the 53 climax it's pretty good. Because, it's like they've done everything they can to defeat those aliens, but nothing works. So it's just kind of like this kind of reflective climax. A climax you kind of reflect because they're just trying to huddle together in like the church, trying to protect themselves from being killed by the Martians. So I think thematically that one is better. I think there is more spectacle in this one, certainly.
I think I just really hate Earth vs. the Flying Saucers. Not War of the Worlds. Earth vs. the Flying Saucers. What a bad movie.
You don't like that movie?
No, that movie's boring.
Come on.
That movie is what you think this movie is, except worse.
Come on. That movie features some of Harryhausen's finest effect work.
Yeah.
Okay.
We'll get to that one day.
Yeah,
I've got the color version of it.
We'll see. Now let's talk about the acting in the movie.
I'm laughing. I'm laughing at this movie. I'm
Look,
laughing
I mean,
at the American dub.
so this movie is unique because we have Japanese actors, but there's also I think 2 American actors.
Yeah,
and
there are a bunch of other foreign actors, but none of them have lines. It's just the 2 American guys.
Yeah, they have these 2 American guys. I guess they're from the UN or something like that.
Yeah,
and I don't think they're great actors.
No, I don't. I think everybody kind of agrees. The American actors in a lot of these monster movies.
And we're not talking like Nick Adams or anything like that. We're just talking about some random.
These are the random guys that show up a lot in these movies. The main mustache guy. He shows up in King Kong vs. Godzilla.
Yeah, he's also in Mothra.
Yeah, he shows up in a lot of these movies. But yeah, they're never good actors. But the Japanese actors, they're great. Yeah, it's an all-star cast. We've got a lot of the faces from the original Godzilla.
Yeah,
you've got
Yamane.
Dr. Yamani's actor. He's in a lot of Kurosawa stuff. You've got Emiko's actor. Of course, I can't remember their names, but we've got Kenji Sahara.
I should really write these down.
That's the actor's name. He's one of my favorites. He was in Rodan, and then he would go on to be in a lot of Ultraman shows. He's in a lot of the Godzilla stuff. So he's a pretty prolific kaiju genre actor.
Yes, but I think now that we're on the subject of acting, we should probably talk about the English dub that's on the DVD. We should clarify. We should clarify a few things. 1, we watched the Japanese version, okay?
Yeah.
2, there are 2 English dubs of this movie. Now, the first one was released in 1959, and it was released by Columbia. I don't know where you can find it. But it's out there somewhere if you want to seek it out. I'm going to assume the dubbing in that movie is serviceable. Now, on this DVD, which was done by Tokyo Shock, they included a new English dub that was not the 57 version. I don't know where this dub came from, but I'm assuming it was made specifically for the DVD. And the voice acting dubbing for the English version, in this English version, is awful.
It sounds like it was probably done by people who normally do the dubbing for animes.
Yeah,
and so
it feels really out of place.
Because of that, you've got it's an old school movie with a lot of adults, old people, fairly older people,
and they're talking they're guys in their 20s,
and there's guys in their 20s essentially dubbing them.
Yeah, it's
oh my gosh,
we must defeat the Mysterians, sort of thing. And none of the, I don't think we only watched a few minutes of that.
I mean, the lip syncing looked fine to me, but it was mostly just the voices didn't match. We've got the awesome line that we love quoting, where you've got that old American actor.
So yeah, there's
He's
that
an
old American,
man, by the way.
So in the Japanese version, he comes in. There's these people that are having a meeting. They're we're gonna be doomed by the Mysterians, and then this old guy comes in. He's like, good news. We have a new development, something like that.
Yeah, something like that.
And he says half the line in Japanese, by the way. He just says good. He just says good news in English, and then he says the rest of his thing in Japanese. But this thing in this English dub, it's all in
English, of course.
And the line that they came up with was, good news, everyone, this will please you. A new machine.
No, it's new machine. This will please you. And it's in the most flamboyant voice they could possibly make for this old man. He's an old gray,
and it comes off right after this guy's just we might have the same doomed fate as the Mysterians. Good news, everyone. It's like that. It's it's such a weird juxtaposition there.
Yeah. Of course, that's not for the movie that we're really reviewing right now.
But there's another part in that movie where they introduce the American guys, and so in the Japanese version.
Back to the Japanese version, or did you watch more of the dub?
No, I just want to explain. It's the translation scene. So anyway, there's a part in the movie where in the Japanese version, they meet these Japanese characters, they meet the 2 American guys, and they have this translator translating what the American guys are saying to them in the Japanese version. And in this English version, they're all speaking English, but the translator is still translating what the American guys are saying.
I don't know how else you would have done that without re-editing the film.
I would have cut it because there's no point.
That's the thing. I'm sure in the original version they did that, but for a dub on a DVD, I think it's fine if you're just dubbing straight DVD. But yeah, it is silly. It's silly.
It's really terrible.
And what's worse...
It is a very funny dub,
The worst part of that scene in particular, though, is that they keep the one guy's, English... That the Japanese guy, he has some English lines, and they keep those. It's fine, but because of that, then they dub over when he talks in Japanese. And so because of that, they give him a pretty racist Asian accent.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, whoa! Can you guys really do that?
They did.
Yeah, they did.
So, I guess if you want to laugh, you should check out the English dub.
Check out the English dub that's on the Tokyo Shock DVD if you can get a hold of it.
Yeah.
Of that. It's a fairly rare DVD.
Yeah. Otherwise, if you actually want to watch the movie the way it was intended, you should probably watch the Japanese version.
The Japanese version. There is a Spanish dub.
We didn't watch it.
We did not watch the Spanish dub.
Yeah. So, we already talked about effects.
Yeah, I think we pretty much covered everything. I think it's one of Toho's.
Okay, wait, no. So, since we covered everything we usually talk about, I must ask you, what are your final thoughts on the movie?
Well, I wouldn't say it's necessarily the peak of Toho's monster movies, but of their 50s stuff, I would say when they get to the early 60s is kind of when they peak, but of their 50s stuff, I'd say this is one of my favorites. It's this, and then H-Man. Yeah, those are kind of aside from the original Godzilla, those are kind of my two, probably of my favorites of the 50s ones, and that's mostly because it's Varan, Rodan, battling out of space, and that's the 50 and half human, I guess, which I haven't seen, but I've heard that's not very good.
Yeah. Well, I just think it's okay.
What a loser.
I'm sorry.
No, honestly, your criticisms are pretty fair. The characters aren't the absolute best that Toho has.
And it's slow, and there's not a lot of action in there, especially in the middle.
Yeah, the middle's definitely slows down there.
I mean, there is still stuff in there that's worth seeking out.
I think, the action, when we do get to it, is pretty solid. I think the allegory stuff is...
Oh, I forgot to say, the allegory... Yeah, I mean, that
stuff's pretty
solid.
It's
about the aftermath.
Yeah. And just and that's what I kind of like, is that it doesn't just repeat, the original Godzilla again. It's a similar thing, but it's nuclear war specifically. It hones in on, here's what'll happen if we nuke each other.
Yep. That's the thesis of the film.
Yeah, that's pretty much... I think they actually lay that... That's right, Serizawa, he does his sacrifice, and he's like, remember the Mysterians!
The Mysterians! The Mysterians! Okay, so, how many stars out of 10 would you give that? Because we seem to do that a lot.
I'd give it 7 or an 8. I'd say probably an 8. I really like this film. I'm
going to give this a 6 out of 10.
Wow. Is that the same as The Monster That Challenged the World? Is this better than Monster That Challenged the World, or is it worse?
I'm going to leave that up to the viewer to decide. Anyway, next week, or next time, really, we're going to have an interesting film to show you guys. It's from the 90s, from Joe Dante. It's Matinee. So, stay tuned. You have anything else to say to the people?
Nope.
Okay, well, I'll see you all later. Woo! The Mysterians!
Well, howdy, folks. It's me again. I've been sent here to tell you that this program, it came from the DVD collection, which is kind of a mouthful title if you ask me, was hosted and produced by John Billinger and Connor Keating. The movie covered, The Mysterians, is the property of Toho Company Limited, and that this podcast is a Tiger Media Net production.